Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. I'm excited to share some new updates of the show with you, starting with a new look, sound, and energy, as well as a variety of guests coming aboard with intriguing topics of conversation. I hope you enjoy the new level of energy that will be brought to the show. Thank you for all of your support since the very beginning in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already? Because of you, the Purposeful Life Show is now in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, and we aim to get it into the top 1%. Continue listening to the show and share it with others. You can also now listen to the show on my Facebook page at Adrian Starks, where you can comment in real time and communicate with me about your aha moments. Thank you again for all of your support, and let's make this one hell of a year and be purposeful about doing that. Wishing you all much love and success. Food has been the number one consumption throughout human evolution. We can't live without it. It's seen everywhere, either being consumed, advertised, or sold. Food will always have a critical place in our day-to-day living. But like any relationship, if it is not experienced appropriately, it can be very toxic and detrimental to our well-being. This can also spoil our personal lives and careers. Are your food choices doing you more harm than good? Stay tuned to our new episode, Building a Healthy Relationship Between Our Bodies and Food. Hi, my name is Adrian Starks, and welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. This podcast is for the courageous creators wanting to create a life of meaning, adventure, and fulfillment, all while helping to make the world a better place. I'm happy you're here, and if you're new to our show, make sure to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Champion Up. It is always that one idea that could be your breakthrough. It's time to step into your courage and believe the champion in you. Welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. My name is Adrian Starks, and I am so happy to have you for another amazing Courageous Creator episode. Before we get started, make sure you go ahead and give us that 5-star rating and subscribe to the show on any podcast platform so you can be on the lookout for more amazing content coming to you weekly. Today's an amazing episode, and we're going to talk about healthy relationships between your body and food. And does that sound very yum? And we have a wonderful guest on today, and her name is Kandice Wirch. And Kandice, are you able to say hello to our audience?
Good morning, everyone. So excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here, Kandice. And a little bit about Kandice before we get started. Kandice is a registered nurse, a registered clinical hypnotherapist, and specializes in the psychology of emotional eating. She is passionate about providing education and transformation for those who are wanting to make changes to their health and weight. Kandice speaks from her own personal experience with weight and from watching her late husband be unable to white-knuckle his way through dieting to change the trajectory of his health. He passed away at the age of 56, leaving questions unanswered. Her mission is to shift people's limiting beliefs, disrupt thinking patterns, and reestablish healthy relationships with our bodies and food. Kandice, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here because I am a big supporter of food, particularly to health and the body. And I know that we are living in a time now where it seems to be a rise of obesity going on, a rise of a lot of other complications when it comes to how food is being made and how we're taking it into our bodies. And I really feel like that is impacting how we think, how we feel, and how we do things. And I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate and being able to place yourself into this world and to help us with more knowledge pertaining to that. So I'm excited to talk to you about this health and relationship to our bodies and foods. You specialize in the psychology of emotional eating. And Kandice, what is emotional eating exactly?
Emotional eating is when we use food as a substitute for processing our emotions.
Okay.
So we buffer feeling something. We, may give ourselves a treat because we're feeling bored. And we do the activity through food as opposed to looking at what the feeling is that's going on inside us.
Okay. So we look at food as opposed to the feeling that's going on inside of us. So many people will probably, when they're sad about something or angry or have been disappointed at some kind of event, that may have traumatized them, they could possibly turn to food as a way of ignoring that feeling and trying to get away from it?
Absolutely, 100%. And the thing is we have been really ingrained to do this. And you see
Mhm.
this lots of time. And parents are in their best intentions with children. They'll fall, they'll hurt themselves, and we give them a snack, or we make the connection to a sweet or a treat if you stop
Mhm.
crying. And so we've really been conditioned from such an early age to put the connection with soothing ourselves or not feeling an emotion. And it's getting out of control for us.
Right. That is getting out of control. And can this impact anyone at any time in their life?
100%. We are all susceptible to this. And unless we are really attuned to what's going on and wanting to process our own feelings, we often will resort to
Mhm.
either using food as a buffer, or we may use the internet as a buffer, or shopping as a buffer. We buffer feeling things with a lot of different things. And food is just one of the things that we do. Could be alcohol, could be drugs. My focus is not buffering with food. It's impacting us so much in terms of our health.
I agree because I know when I started, I was working 3 years ago, I was working in a call center and I had spent 8 years of my life working there. And I remember sitting in that call center. It wasn't a job I loved at all, really, but I found myself eating foods that were not good for me. They
Yeah.
tasted really well,
Yep.
but I was about 20 pounds overweight and I was exhausted. I was frustrated. But when I
Yeah.
changed my food intake after leaving, and really taking a look at what kind of food I'm eating it, why am I eating it, and when I'm eating it, it really allowed me to be more creative in thought. My emotional state is a lot more balanced, and I feel so much better about life. And this is why we have the show today, the podcast, because I was
Yeah.
able to create something that I felt
Yeah.
really good about. And so you're doing this exact same thing by helping people see that they can have a better relationship between their bodies and food, because food is actually energy for us.
Hmm.
Could you provide a step for our audience to take today, possibly, to avoid this problem or that we call the coping mechanism in a stressful world of eating or overeating?
Yeah. I'm a real big believer that we all need more than just a meal plan. We need those, or a cleanse. We need skills and we need tools. And the
Hmm.
biggest tool is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the
Yeah.
other thing is getting in tune with what you're feeling and not being afraid of feeling.
Not being afraid of feelings. I like
Not being
that.
afraid of feelings, and just processing them. But we are often so conditioned to be afraid of our feelings
Hmm.
that we want to move away from it. We want to buffer ourselves sometimes with something. And it's normal and it's natural to do these things because our primitive brain doesn't like anything that makes us feel uncomfortable or afraid. And when
That's
we
true.
keep dropping back into our primitive brain and not using that prefrontal cortex that has our best of intentions in place, we listen to that afraid brain. And it
Mhm.
says, make me feel better, make this fear go away. I don't like this feeling. But once we get really comfortable with knowing a feeling is just a feeling and it won't hurt us, all I need to do is work it through. I might be uncomfortable, but I can work this through.
I might be uncomfortable, but I can work this through, and to realize that a feeling is a feeling. And a lot of us are ignoring feelings.
We are ignoring feelings all the time. And part of that whole work is about mindset. So
Okay.
when you have a fixed mindset, that means, it's a feeling and I must do something about it. But when you have a growth mindset, and the mindset is, I have a feeling, I can be uncomfortable, but I know I can work this through. That is a growth mindset. It allows you to grow and to move because you're not afraid. You know that you can work it through. You believe in yourself enough to work through uncomfortableness. And once you start getting a hold of that, you will stop buffering. And you'll stop buffering with food. You'll stop buffering with anything that is not in your highest intent.
I love the fact that you mentioned that because we have to really ask the question, is this in my true interest?
Right. And the primitive brain is not often in our true interest. The primitive brain is in the immediate interest. It's the moment brain. It wants satisfaction right now. And so you've got to start asking yourself the question, what do I want most? versus what do I want in the moment.
Mm.
So if you can hold that, and they cause a little bit of cognitive dissonance. They cause that tension between the two, because you have to make decisions. You have to make decisions all the time. What do I want most versus what do I want in the moment? Do I want that brownie, or do I really want to get to my goal?
Mm.
So you keep asking yourself that question: what do I want the most versus what do I want in the moment?
Okay, audience, what do I want the most versus what do I want in the moment? Write that question down and use that as your marker throughout the day when you're making decisions.
Yeah.
It could really help you.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Kandice. Thank you so much for providing that step to our audience. What inspired you to want to do this kind of work?
I think I've always known I've wanted to do this work. I've been a nurse for 30 some odd years, and I have watched, myself struggle with the 20 to 30 pounds up and down. But most importantly, I watched my late husband struggle with his weight, and he could never get a handle on his relationship with food. And ultimately that compounded all his health concerns, and it ultimately took his life. And so I've known for a long time that what we've been doing in the healthcare system in terms of helping people get empowered around their relationship with getting healthy, and that's about the choices in our lifestyle and the food choices, we haven't been doing a very good job. We need good health coaches out there who can coach people with giving them the skills and the tools to make the changes they need. We talk about health is the greatest form of wealth. But we don't really appreciate that until health starts slipping away. And our health is compounded. It's not the things we do just in the one day. It's accumulative. It adds up over time. And until we get that awareness, it's really difficult, because you feel healthy, or that one choice is not going to hurt me in that moment. But over time, it all adds up. And then one day we start to feel it. And to unwind years of behavior takes a lot of work. So we need to change that message of, you got to take care of yourself now and not let it compound.
Take care of yourself now and not let it compound. And you are so right. I use that term also too when it comes to health being our greatest wealth, but a lot of people don't understand that is something that you should do now, and that you should invest in it and not wait until it becomes a problem for you.
Yeah. But I make the analogy to, most of us, in terms of our financial situation, we don't really understand compounded interest or how powerful that is. This is the exact same principle. Compounding our health over time allows us to live the life we want to live. It allows us to stay active and full and healthy. There's not for 1 second, I don't believe, that Chuck would not want to still be here and be active and healthy and whole. But he never was able to get a hold of changing behaviors so that he could compound his healthy behaviors. He compounded his unhealthy behaviors because he could never change them. And ultimately that cost him and us and his kids everything. And it didn't happen one day. It happened slowly. And that's what happens with compounding. So we need good health coaching out there for people to really help them look within, to sit with being uncomfortable and not being afraid of processing feelings.
Okay. Not being afraid of processing feelings. That's good. What has been your greatest challenge along your journey with your health?
I think the greatest challenge in terms of just a strictly food behavior was eliminating sugar from my diet, because sugar is a drug and it makes us feel good. It triggers our neurotransmitters. It interrupts our hormones, but it is a real moment experience. And so when you start getting off sugar, you have to really go to that equation of, what do I want most versus what do I want in the moment? Because sugar is a moment rush, and you got to let go of that. That's the biggest thing in terms of a food behavior you can let go of. That was the number one food thing I had to let go of, and to process all my feelings, to know that no matter what feeling I feel, I will be okay. I don't need to make this go away. I will be okay.
No matter what you feel, you're going to be okay. Remember that.
Ultimately, I'm going to be okay.
Ultimately, I'm going to be okay. What are some limiting beliefs that you find is a common theme with most people in relation to their bodies and health?
The biggest limiting belief is I'm not worthy. I don't have the strength. I cannot process this. I'm not worthy. For some
That's a good one,
reason,
actually. Yeah,
there's,
worthy.
they become sabotaging themselves. They get so close to their goal and then they start sabotaging because it gets scary. Living that really healthy, vibrant life, if they haven't lived it before where they're empowered, it gets scary and that primitive brain starts sabotaging you. You're not really worthy. You shouldn't be doing this. Go back, do that. Go out with your friends. It's just one piece of cake. It's that whole talk that starts sabotaging them. And that's ultimately about worthiness.
About worthiness. And that's a number one limiting belief, I believe, for a lot of people across the planet is the
Number
feeling of
one.
unworthiness,
Yeah.
not being able to cope with the things that they have in their life,
Yeah.
not being able to take it beyond that point.
Yeah.
Why do you think people get confused, Kandice, or frustrated with dieting?
Because there's 1,000 different messages out there. There's 1,000 different
Certainly is.
protocols. And really they don't address the heart of the answer. And 97% of all diets are ineffective, and they're ineffective to keep weight
Wow.
off
So
for a
90,
longer, 97, 95 to
97%.
97. Yeah. Are
Okay.
ineffective. You can lose weight in the short term. But to keep it off in the long term is extremely challenging, and people feel cheated and they feel like everybody else gets to eat all the good food. And now I'm on a diet and I don't get to eat all the good food. So you go around and you feel miserable. And that's all emotional work that needs to be worked through. And if you don't work with the mind first, which is the bulk of the concern around weight loss, you're just going to be addressing the physiology of it and what you're putting into your body. You're going to be looking at it from a physics perspective. Change A, do B, you'll get the magic results of C, but you never looked at the psychology of it. How to process feelings, how to manage those feelings when you're feeling cheated, how to not see yourself as feeling cheated, how to reframe what everybody else is eating. It's not normal what we're doing out there, but we think it's normal.
So it's basically to process what we're feeling and to allow that to be our factor of how we make our decisions, and not just ignore what we're feeling and just jump into this thing of, I got to do something to mask this, pretty
Yes,
much.
yes.
And I like the fact that you said about dieting, because
Yeah,
that seems to be a big thing. And
it's a big thing.
yeah, and to our audience, diet means how you eat. That's what the word means, actually,
Exactly. That's what
right?
it means. We all have a diet. Our
We all
species
have a
has
diet.
a diet. Diet is just what you consume, but we have this verb attached to it that makes us feel so resistant. And whenever we say it, we start having to, use that willpower. And the minute you start bringing willpower up, it becomes resistance and you're fighting against it. And willpower is a finite thing. It only has so much energy with it. I make the analogy that willpower is like a beach ball. And when you're using willpower to resist doing something, to resist eating something, or to resist a behavior, it's like pushing that beach ball underwater. And you push and you push, and you can hold it for so long, which is what when you go on a typical verb kind of diet, you hold it under so long, but eventually it's going to pop up and you're going to resort back to what you were doing before, because you can't hold it under anymore. And that's really what I saw Chuck doing all the time. Every Monday morning he got on a diet and he would resist for a few days, and then that beach ball would pop up and he couldn't resist anymore, and he would go back to buffering emotions he was feeling with food. So we need to stop using willpower, let that beach ball pop up, let it float on top of the water, and process the feelings first and foremost before we even attempt to make changes where we're having to make conscious decisions that say, no, I want this more, versus in the moment. First, process the feeling. First, start saying, I'm okay with a feeling and I'm okay with being uncomfortable. You do that, you got this whole weight thing licked.
Powerful and great analogy, by the way, with the beach ball.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Willpower is just not something people can sustain long term. So why do we even try and make them do that? And all diets out there that are just prescriptive in terms of eat this, do that, are willpower based, because you have to keep saying no. And the more decisions you make in a day, the shorter your willpower becomes, because willpower gets tired. It's affected by decision fatigue.
Willpower is affected by decision fatigue. Why is it important for us to have an awareness of what we're putting into our bodies, Kandice?
because it is the key to health. I mean, we say that and it feels a little bit, almost trite to say that because we don't appreciate it to its absolute depth. But what we put in our body affects every cell now, and it affects every cell in the future.
Ooh, what we put into our body now it affects every cell now and every cell in the future because we are regenerating cells.
We're turning them over all the time. Yeah.
To our audience listening, for you, those of you who may think, okay, cells, what is that? Yes, we are human. We have cells in our body. Building blocks of life is what we call it. And these things are what regenerate and keep us healthy or not allow us to be healthy, depending on how we generate them or how we are producing them. So when you're eating things, think about food, as Kandice mentioned, like what do you want in the moment versus what do you actually need? Are you forgetting about your feelings? What's causing this to grab that muffin off of that counter space or that piece of cake? What is causing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the word diet, for all of us listening, the word diet is not this big monster. Stop thinking about it that way and stop letting people out here tell you what's the best diet.
Yeah, you really got to look at the best diet for you. And that comes from your family, that comes from your culture, that comes from anything. I really caution people to get sort of that spidey sense hyped up when people are being very prescriptive on what you should and shouldn't eat. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as we start talking about macronutrients and micronutrients and vitamins and supplements and all those sorts of things, we've taken food away from our table. And our table is where we have relationships, we have conversations that nourish each other, and we're putting it into the medical scientific field to say, this is what you need. And that distances us from the relationship we have with food, because now it's in this scientific community. It's way out there. They'll tell me what I need. And that got us into trouble in the first place. Our great grandmothers used to know exactly what they put on the table, exactly what they were feeding their children. And then we got to be that you need to have vitamin B, you need to have niacin. And we got afraid of really honing in on what is nurturing our body. And we relied on the food packaging to say, okay, this has got niacin in it. This has got vitamin B in it. This has got fiber in it. Instead of just looking at food as a whole nourishing plant. If it's whole, it's on your table, it is great. As soon as it's taken out there into, macronutrients and micronutrients, we're losing the battle.
And that's a battle we do not want to lose.
We don't want to lose. So I love Michael Pollan. I love him. He has one of the books, and he's written several on food. And essentially, all you need to really know is eat whole foods, eat less. If your grandma can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
If your grandma can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That's funny.
It.
Well, one thing I learned too is that when I'm looking at foods, especially in stores, I look at the box or whatever it's in to make sure of the ingredients. Now, if it's in a box, obviously it's got preservatives in it, things like that. So you guys want to be careful about things on the shelves, because it means basically they want it on the shelf as long as it can stay on until someone buys it. That's what shelf life means.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. Also the ingredients. If it's got a lot of ingredients in it, and like you just mentioned, those things you cannot pronounce, things that you have never seen before, probably not good for the body, probably not something your body can break down easily, which causes frustration and stress internally, which leads to other forms of emotion.
Yeah. Anything that is processed, anything that is broken down into its subcategories is not good for us, because it has too much surface area on the molecule. And I know this is a little bit scientific, but just think about it. If I take a whole sugar cane and I grind it down, when it was in its whole thing, it only had, I'm just throwing out numbers here, it really doesn't matter, but just for an analogy, it only has so many surface areas on it. When I grind it down, I do 1,000,000 times more surface areas. When I ingest that into my body doesn't know how to handle that. It's too much. It's too much of that molecule coming at me, and it causes stress. So again, if it's a whole food, it is fine. Think about anything that is ground is not good for us. And I also make the analogy with heroin. If I'm sitting in a poppy field and I even eat a poppy, Nothing bad is going to happen to me, but I grind that down and create heroin, something is going to happen to me. If I sit and I gnaw on a piece of sugar cane, I will actually get a rush out of that. I will get a pleasurable feeling out of that, but it won't ultimately hurt me like sugar will. So anything ground, stay away from. If it's ground, it's not good.
Very good information here. Thank you so much, Kandice. And by being healthier, could this possibly lead to a more fulfilling life for us?
Absolutely. When you are healthier, you have the energy, you have the ability to continue to live your life in an active form, to engage in relationships. As soon as we start becoming unhealthy, we really go internally. You go to any hospital and walk through any ward. People are sad. They're not moving as much. They're not engaged as much. They're not doing what they want to do. Their health is affecting their ability to live their life. So if you want to live a healthy life, you need to see health as the thing you need to nurture and take care of.
See health is the thing you need to nurture and take care of. Powerful phrase there. Make sure you all write that down. Kandice, this has been wonderful, and I would love to learn more from you myself, and I know our audience does. Do you have any upcoming events, workshops, or any books, anything our audience can learn more from with you regarding their health?
Yeah. In September, I'm launching an online coaching program, and it will be all about ways to lose weight, ways to overcome emotional eating, and ways to really nurture that health and to get to that ultimate goal that you want to be, to get away from that moment mind and into the what do I want most mind. And that's going to be launching in September. So just go to my website at www.weightbossforlife.com, and we would be happy to connect with you from there. I also invite anybody to send me an email, and I can connect with them and we can do a consultation.
Excellent. Can they send you an email through your website?
They can send me an email through my website.
Excellent. And just for our audience here who may want to get in touch with you right away, because I know they should, what's your email address?
It is info@weightbossforlife.com.
info@weightbossforlife.com.
Yeah, because I believe if you're a weight boss, you are a life boss, because these are meta skills. Any of the skills that you use to lose weight in this mindset perspective, you can apply to every goal you have in your life.
And this is why Kandice is a courageous creator. And on this show, she is a weight boss for life and wants to help you to become that weight boss for life as well.
Yes.
This is amazing. And Kandice actually, she's in her office and she has this frame above her that says weight boss for life, creating lighter lives. Now, this is a person who lives her truth. When you talk to people and they say what they do and what they are passionate about, when you can see that in their environment, how they show up, you know that they definitely walk their talk. Kandice does that. So Kandice, since you walk your talk, let's walk you into the courageous creator question.
Okay.
Which I love to ask my amazing people on the show. What does living a healthy lifestyle look and feel like to you?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. So for me, it's about balance. It is about awareness. And ultimately, it is knowing that self-care is not self-indulgence.
Okay.
That for me is always the thing. Like if I am having a bad day and I'm wanting to nurture myself in some way, and my monkey mind is saying, oh, just, go do this thing that maybe ultimately is sabotage for me, I will click into self-care is not self-indulgence. Kandice, do something that's going to really nurture you long term. That may be go for a walk in nature, that may be connect with my family, that may be have a bubble bath, or all those things we contribute to. But I want to make sure whatever I choose, I'm conscious of it. I'm conscious of my choices.
What a powerful answer. And this is why Kandice is a weight boss for life and a courageous creator. And I want to thank you so much, Kandice, for being on our show today and really providing us with information that will give us a better relationship with our bodies and food. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure as well, too. To our audience today, remember that your relationship between your body and food is very important, not just for your living, but for your success in the other areas of your life, because this impacts how you feel, how you think, and what you do. And Kandice's theme today, the recurring theme that we kept hearing is about the moment versus what you actually need, the emotion behind that, checking why you're feeling this way and addressing it and not masking it with food, overindulging, or doing the things you should not be doing in any other area. Your life is very important. You only get one of them, but how we start first with appreciating and respecting ourselves is self-care. And that's not self-indulgence, as Kandice just mentioned. And taking that walk, having that bubble bath, having time to yourself may be all that you really need instead of grabbing that thing on the counter space that does not mean you any well. So start having a better relationship with foods, more live foods, more things that are less processed, foods that are in their natural state. And that is one step closer you get to living that better life and becoming the weight boss that you're designed to be. Until then, I encourage you all to be that courageous creator in your life. This is the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast with myself, Adrian Starks, and thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, don't forget to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on the powerful life-changing content on future episodes. Also, make sure to go to championup.net for even more life-changing content. Until then, I encourage you to be the courageous creator in your life.